I hope you can hear me. Right, I'm just going to give it a few minutes, just a couple of minutes to make sure everybody else has joined. Thank you for being here, and I'd love to answer any questions at the end. So if you have them, feel free to pop it up in the chat on the right-hand side, and I can answer them at the end of the session. It is going to be a relatively short session because as speakers, the recommended time is around 10 minutes, and I think the rest of the time we can use to engage with the audience. Okay, maybe I should get into it. So, thank you everyone for joining the session. And as you can see, this is my session on writing to an audience, or writing to inspire to an audience, inspire an audience of creative thinkers. So, I think it would be safe to assume that if you're here, you're either currently writing in this space, or you're interested in writing in this space, or you're just a creative thinker yourself. Whatever the reason may be, thanks once again for joining the session. But just a quick heads up, I think there's highly likely to be an audience from different backgrounds. So I am a digital product designer, and I write about design, thinking, and creativity. So any learnings that I share today will be from that perspective. But I don't think that should take away the fact that this can be broadly applied to other creative audiences too. So as of now, the topic UX on Medium has around an immensely large number of stories in it. It has around 183,000 stories, and a whopping 1 million followers on it. So it's a fairly bustling space with topics ranging from product strategy to research and to even philosophy. It seems like there couldn't be any more new perspectives or ideas while writing in this space. So when I began writing on Medium in the beginning of this year, I was quite anxious about if people would want to engage with what I write or what I have to say. And surprisingly, my second article, it was called The Art of Unlearning. It gathered around 100 followers. And I think for a platform like Medium, that is, as a personal milestone for me, that is pretty huge. And so people seem to really engage with the article through highlights and comments. And so I began to wonder what actually clicked with that, because again, it was only my second. My first one was not consciously written, or it was not very intentionally written, and the second one sort of garnered a lot of followers and got a lot of interest. So I got to thinking as to what might be the reason as to why it worked with the audience that I was writing for, and I made a few assumptions, and I began to follow these sort of formulas in the other articles that I had written. And they're not formulas, it's just a lack of a better word. And that's what I want to highlight in this session. I have a few thoughts on what might be the reasons why these articles have engaged well with the users. So first thing that I think that worked was writing about thinking itself. Uh, Designers enjoy metacognition. We love to discuss how we think and design as much as we love to talk about the design itself. And it's a very useful activity or process. To be a designer or a creative thinker, you not only have to train yourself in that creative practice or the art of that practice itself, but you also have to know how to think. And this self awareness is what leads to more thoughtful and effective design outcomes. We look at Da Vinci and we look at his tendency to draw inspiration from different arts and sciences and engineering. We admire Steve Jobs' ability to challenge the norm and conventions and envision products that are way ahead of time. So we're not only intrigued as creative thinkers and designers, we're not only intrigued by the art or the product itself, but also by how it comes about. Interestingly, design schools also have at least one module dedicated to teaching future designers how to think. It is considered to be an important aspect of preparing future designers on that. Moreover, one of the first books that I was recommended when I was a student of architecture was this book called Six Thinking Hats by Edward Bono. And till date, I see different creatives embrace that book. And so the skill to craft, the ability to think or think in a certain way, the ability to think creatively is very crucial for designers. And I noticed this inclination even in the content that I wrote. Readers seem to like and highlight insights and patterns about how humans think and ways to increase creativity. So I think that's the first element that I think that worked. It's important to not only talk about content or the practice of UX itself, but also on how to think to get to that outcome. And the second is what I call cross-pollination, which is drawing ideas from different domains and fields. Designing experiences or the human experience itself, it constitutes of a wide range of dimensions, right? So hence designing for those experiences and specifically digital experiences, it can't be done by thinking and working within one domain, right? And that there exist examples, and there are definitely existing examples of that within UX itself. We understand how people make choices by drawing insights from behavioral economics. We look at game theory to design better and engaging experiences. And to ensure that the work we do is really in the best interests of users, we rely or lean on ethical studies. So we already lean on different domains to be able to design better. And interestingly, even conversations or casual conversations we have as designers are often passionate discussions about life, people, art, behavior, psychology, and beyond. And this variety, I think, should be reflected in the way that we write too. Designers are constantly searching for answers in the world around them on how to solve the different problems that they face in work and life, right? For example, when I was writing my article, Formulating Design Principles, I was at the same time reading this book called World Order. And I used a quote from it to talk about how, just like how participating countries or members must agree to exist in a world order of sorts, for design principles to be truly adopted by the team, everybody has to agree to it and truly believe that those are the principles that should guide them. And just making that comparison for me has made that idea stick with me longer. And I think that's what it could do for your readers too. It wasn't the most popular highlight of that article, but it definitely got some interest. And so articles that blend content from different domains tend to pique users' curiosity. And it definitely helps them make connections that they've not made before and hence absorb an idea better. And the third element to make writing to creative thinkers work is having concrete illustrations. As much as we are dreamers and visionaries who love to talk about ideas and thinking, designers also want to take back concrete aspects or concrete things when they read your article. They're essentially searching for answers that they can apply in the next challenge that they face. They're also looking for evidence and credibility in your argument. So, providing examples of application or real world grounding, along with action items that they can take back, is quite crucial. It is a concrete and practical way to communicate your abstract ideas. So, make sure to do your research on the topic, find arguments or discussions that support and contradict your idea from people whose voices matter in that space, right? And this exercise not only helps you understand and validate the relevancy of your topic, but also it helps you find answers to your questions. Personally, when I'm writing an article, it's always me seeking an answer to a question, right? And that's how I look at research too. These are ways for me to find answers to the topic that I'm writing about. But that's not to say that new novel or abstract ideas are not of value here. They 100% are. And in fact, we're talking about how to inspire an audience of creative thinkers. But every new idea stems or has a parallel with other ideas. So make sure to highlight how you envision its application in the real world. UX design is this blend of art and science, of ideas, not only big ideas, but also of execution. So if you don't have answers yet, that's okay. Make sure the reader at least leaves leaves your article with the urge to explore more about your argument. And I think the last and probably the most generic element is telling your story in your article. Your content or topic is what pulls your reader into the article, but it's your narrative that keeps them hooked. Designers have different platforms and mediums and formats where they draw their knowledge from, right? We have portfolio websites which explore case studies and talk about how a problem was solved. We also have platforms like Dribble that are a source of visual inspiration for us, or even books that are more of an authoritative content. So when reading articles, designers might be expecting less generic and more personal stories or personal reflections. You might assume that your experience might be too ordinary or mundane or even repetitive to be shared, or that you need to have an actual dramatic story or this learning that you need to be able to write a good article or tell a good story. But it's good to remember that you're not competing for a space in this area, or at least even in the reader's mind. All you're looking to do is to enrich the ideas and perspectives that they already have, be that one extra idea that probably could change the way that they think. So share even the most ordinary experience that you face at work or life and connect it to what you're trying to argue or make a point about. Add humor to your content if that's your style, or use gifs or irony if that's how you usually express yourself. So it's quite important to be authentic when you're writing, because in this space where there are so many writers, from junior designers to managers, from researchers to strategists, I think it's quite important to tell your story, what your experience is, so that you can actually connect with your audience. To sum up, writing to such an audience or writing to creative thinkers is no simple feat. I think we're quite picky. We're also very eager explorers looking for inspiration in everything we come across, right? In every text that we read, or in every image we absorb, or in any idea that we encounter. But I think you will at least leave your audience intrigued if you do at least one of these four things. If you get them to reflect on the way that they think, and if you connect ideas from different fields, and you anchor concepts that you're talking about in your article in actual world, in real world application, and finally make sure to weave it into a good story and make sure to tell your story in that. And with that, I come to the end of my session. And I like to open the floor to any questions if you guys do have. And I'd love to know more about the backgrounds that you guys are from. I have Annalise saying creativity doesn't come from one place. Yes, I think that's quite true, right? It doesn't need to be, and hence, um, when you are writing to inspire people, it's good to draw sources from different domains, because UX is also a relatively, or product design is a relatively new field, and its origins are also from different fields. And I think drawing ideas from different places can really help with that. I hope I'm getting everybody's comment or question in. And I see a few people who asked to be a moderator. I think that is if you want to turn your video on. Is that right? Sorry. If you have a question, do go ahead and post it on the chat and I can answer them. Sorry, I'm just going through the questions, if that's okay. So David says, thanks for that, David. I have found that some of my greatest interactions in Medium have come from comments that I have posted on other creative thinker stories. Do you find the same? Yes, I definitely think so, because sometimes one of my articles has also been inspired from a comment or a conversation that I had with another writer in another article. I am trying to be a lot more proactive in commenting on other people's content, but I am also fairly new in this game. So I'm trying to put out my content, try to gauge how people are commenting on that. At the same time, I'm also trying to engage with other writers, because again, if I have that expectation, I think we should do that for others too. But yes, I do think commenting and discussing ideas, either on your own article or another person's article, is definitely a good source of inspiration to either write your articles for or anything else. And I think I've also been challenged in those comments about a lot of things, and I definitely do value that. I know in the latest article that I wrote about intuition, and intuition is a fairly debated topic too. So there was counter arguments to it, and I definitely take that. So it's a good way to know or even expand your knowledge on that. Again, your knowledge on that one particular topic doesn't stop with the article that you write there, right? You can always revisit the topic that you've written. So I think it's always a good interaction that way. Thanks for that, David. Right. Oh, sorry, I'm realizing that all these comments have to be approved, and I'm trying to do that to actually be visible to others. This is the first time I think a lot of us are interacting with Hopin as a platform. So I think it's definitely a learning. Sorry, I've just approved all of the comments. Thanks, Annalise, for that. Medium doesn't focus a lot in that area. I think the goal with Medium is to be a space where any kind of idea can come in and thrive. It is not specific. I'm sorry, I'm assuming that you mean that Medium doesn't specifically support articles on creativity. If that's the case, then I think the goal is to get different ideas, allow people to have one place to see different perspectives on different topics. it could be great if they could customize the platform for designers as such, or for each field, right? Like, because the way you write or the format could be different across fields. But I think they are encouraging writers in the creative space these days, especially if you see how Medium Day was promoted. I think emphasis was also put on how there are design writers coming up. But it's also, I think, important to note that designers writing is only becoming quite common these days. We are understanding how writing can really articulate our thoughts, and it's a fairly I would assume it's a fairly new thing. So I guess we have to let it get traction on its own. Can you make a summary of the class? Sorry. I can put the bullet points if you want to. The last 4 points, I can put that towards the end of this session. Maybe in the last 5 minutes, I can do that. Uh, Thanks, Jemmy, and I hope I'm saying your name right. I love to conceive new ideas and how people express them, but I've yet to feel comfortable sharing my own ideas. Challenging is great, but something gets spicy. That's true. I guess I get where you're coming from, right? Like, maybe that's my apprehension too in commenting on other people's ideas. I'm skeptical, or I'm quite apprehensive if I've got or understood. Sorry, I hadn't marked you as answered, and I didn't do that for others too. Sorry, replying to Jemmy's comment on not being fully ready yet to comment on other people's content. I definitely get that, because I sometimes think I don't have, if I don't agree with a view, I feel like I don't have the full context on that. But I guess it's a shot, right? Like, as long as we're civil and as long as we are saying it in a nice way, I think everybody on the platform, or the idea is everybody's open to a discussion and have this very productive conversation where you get to challenge these, challenge each other's views. And sometimes I do feel like maybe that could be a different like a section in Medium where people are talking about different ideas, something that's more elaborate than comments itself. As somebody else mentioned, that it is interacting with people via comments are some of the greatest engagements we have with other authors or other readers. I'm sorry, I'm reading the other articles. Sorry, other comments. What other, sorry, what other article topics have you noticed garnered a lot of interest? Can you put a link to your unlearning article? Sure, I can definitely do that. I'll go ahead and answer your question first, maybe. So I did do a review of what seemed to be really gathering interest. And I think more than what really is getting interest, I think one thing that I noticed was Medium initially was, especially with UX, it was a space for putting out case studies or talking about or analyzing a specific application and then breaking down what is a good experience about it, what could be improved on Medium. But I do think those kinds of articles are becoming more saturated. The number of those articles are a lot more now, and I feel like we're hitting saturation on that. And people are more interested in different perspectives, especially things like career-focused one. Recently, I read an article that spoke about why we shouldn't rush to be senior or design managers, and we should sort of savor the whole process. So I think more career growth focused articles are really coming up. People are voicing their opinions on that. And I think a lot more traction on research is coming about as UX research gets popular. People are finding or talking about it a lot more. So I would say that's another area where topics are coming up. And definitely content on AI, right? So how do designers use AI? So that's a talk of the moment for any domain right now. Um, Regarding your point on cross pollination, do you go out of your way to read in other spheres of research? How much time do you dedicate to this? Is it only for the article, or is it a passive thing to you do? It's a very good question. Well, the ideal scenario is everything that you do just on your free time is sort of like a source of inspiration too, right? And I would love for that to happen. And if I'm reading a book and then I get an idea from that, or if I'm seeing a movie and I get an idea from that, passively, yes, it has happened, as I mentioned. But more often than not, it is me actively pursuing other sources while I do the research for the article. And I feel like that's more focused. Um, Even thinking or pattern or matching or making connections across different fields as just and when as you read them, that's a skill itself. I'm still mastering that. I'm probably consuming a lot of things, but I'm not making connections in my head to UX specifically, and I would like to get better at that. And I think that's an important uh, ability to be creative, right? That's something you have to hone. So I would love for it to happen more passively. It would save a lot of my time. But right now, I am when I'm writing an article or on a particular topic, I do specifically search around that to see if I can get inspiration or ideas from different domains. But thank you for that question. I can post the link to my article. So I think we have 3 minutes on the clock. So I'm just going to quickly maybe take the last question. It's weird that I have to approve my own comment. What is your process of writing? Have you some habits? Do you monitor trends in social media in order to write the right article? Well, being a designer, you would assume that I'm quite data driven and I would look at media trends to write the right article. I guess my goal is not, as I said, the first article that I wrote, it was by chance that I got good engagement, but I wasn't expecting it and I wasn't aiming for it. I use Medium to write to just reflect on my own thoughts and to find answers to my own questions that I have. So till date, I'm not looking to write on a particular topic that would get me interest. I think it would be um, I think it would be nicer if what I wrote really just piqued everybody's interest, right? And I think that's how I want to go about. I think it's too much pressure thinking about um, if your topic that you're writing, which could be personal to you, is it the most trendy topic now? Is it the most attractive topic now? I think that's too much pressure for somebody starting out. And for now, I would want to write things that I find are personally intriguing for me. Um, Sorry, we just have 1 minute on the clock. What other article topics have you? I might not have the time to answer this, I'm guessing. So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or on Medium. Um, and what I will do is I will write a summary of this talk on Medium as an article too. So anybody looking for a short summary version of this, you can look it up on Medium when I publish it. But thank you so much for being here and actually engaging with me. I did not think that there would be people interested, but or as so many people would be interested. But thank you so much for coming on and listening to what I have to say and asking these really nice questions. Hoping to connect with some of you or all of you outside of Medium or Hopin. All right. Thank you. I'm not sure, will this close on its own? Okay, I guess I think it would. But all right, thank you so much. See you.